Hi, this is P. Andrew Sandlin on a very cool, windy day in British Columbia at the Runner Academy of the Ezra Institute, where I'm lecturing. I thought I'd talk for several minutes on the interesting topic of the Bible as a history book more than a heart book. We often understand that the Bible speaks to the human heart. When the Bible uses the term heart in this sense, it's talking about the core of man's being, the immaterial part of man relating to God that is nonetheless woven into a man's material being. The heart is the seat of our knowledge and our affections and our intuitions. It's the part that relates directly to God. That's where God is most at work, though also clearly at work in our bodies. But Christians today, when they use the term heart, often are referring to emotion or feelings. And they often believe that the Bible was principally written so that they could have a good heart relationship to God. It certainly was written partly for that reason. The Bible's clear on that. Nobody who reads the book of Psalms could come to any other conclusion. But if you think about it, the Bible's principally a book of history. If the goal of the Bible is basically to assure that our heart is right with God, then God wasted a lot of pen and ink, you might say. The Bible starts with God's creation of the material world and creating man and woman, putting them in a very lush garden, giving them a command to take dominion over the earth. And then, of course, there's the fall, the space-time fall, not a fall limited only to the heart, but brought about by the eating of a fruit with a very material historical consequences. And then, of course, there's Cain slaying Abel, and then comes the universal flood and the Tower of Babel, and then God calls out Abraham, and then there's the subsequent long and mostly sordid history of Israel, and is dealing with its land, the land of Canaan, and all of the nations about it. And then Christ comes and goes everywhere doing good, not just teaching, but particularly in the Synoptic Gospels, performing exorcisms and healings, and then he passes away on the cross, but rises again victoriously the third day, and gives a great commission to his disciples. And that commission is not just stay close to the Lord with your heart and have a nice vertical relationship, but no, take this gospel and disciple the nations. That's what it literally means there in Matthew 28. Make the nations disciples, not just individuals. And then we have the writings of Paul to the churches on how they are to act, love, and serve God from their heart, but in every area of life and thought. And then if there were any book of the Bible, the sort of the final bookend that is not about the human heart principally, it's certainly the book of Revelation. It's about what God is doing in history. I believe that most of Revelation is about the ancient Roman Empire and the ancient Jews and God's judgment on them. But whatever your view about Revelation, it certainly is about human history. One of the great mistakes of the modern world and the modern church and its pietism, that is, its limitation of the faith to personal, privatized piety, is not to recognize the Bible as principally a book of history. And therefore, what is most interesting to people is their own private relationship to God. And I want to emphasize that is vital. But the faith can't be limited to that. The Bible is mostly about what God is doing in history, the advance of his kingdom in history. For that reason, we should principally be outward-looking people and not inward-looking people. Yes, we should examine our hearts, but most of all, we should examine and participate in what God is doing in history. I'm P. Andrew Sandlin, founder and president of the Center for Cultural Leadership, ChristianCulture.com.